Next up on my journey, I speak to Dean Catney, co-founder of Stardust London and Celestial Cinema, and he's also partner at the well-known brand Hotbed. Dean, how are you?
Liam, very good, sir. Thanks for having me on.
It's been a while since we've seen each other.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been our paths crossed many times over the years, but it's been an eventful 6 months to say the least.
So how have you been since lockdown's been lifted?
It's been an interesting process the past few months, watching the industry go from literally nothing to slowly reopening. It's been interesting to watch from afar, and then of course get back in the midst of it and start doing our own things that are following government guidelines and creating new projects that we're able to do at this stage whilst everything else essentially is still pending. So that's where we're at the moment.
And you just said projects. What projects are you working on right now?
Well, we've literally just wrapped up a project that came out of lockdown. What we decided to do quite early on was using our resources and our experience and our team around us is what can possibly happen during lockdown. And you might have seen pop up quite a lot across the country was drive-in cinemas. So we decided that there isn't really anything happening in South East. There's a niche in the market here. Everyone was crying out for it. We did a few teaser kind of campaigns to see if there's any interest, and it went off the Richter scale. So we thought, let's put everything that we've got into something we can do that's going to be within government guidelines and obviously high in demand. So yeah, absolutely, we pressed forward with a drive-in cinema concept and created a brand called Celestial Cinema. It was great.
That sounds amazing. Is there plans to expand that in the future?
Yeah, I mean, off the back of a successful July period, our first drive-in series probably will return again later down the line. We'll probably look to do something a bit more substantial in 2021 with that. A lot more planning, of course. And we turned around the project within the space of a few weeks. It was quite phenomenal the way that we did that. So with a whole year ahead of us and planning for next year, definitely will return bigger and better for a driving experience. However, from the off-start, we knew that we wanted to create a brand that could sit alongside some other projects that we've got, winter festivals and whatnot. And we've already started planning ahead for an October series to fit in line with Halloween.
Amazing.
So we can do a horror week.
Amazing.
Which is going to be really good. So hopefully that will pop up soon and we'll be able to announce some details on the venues. We're just scoping out some niche environments at the moment. Somewhere that's going to be really cool.
So people know you, Dean, from Scintillate, Hotbed, and most recently, Stardust. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I started off my career really in the events industry, working for one of the biggest brands across Europe, so Scintillate. And you obviously recently interviewed Gary on one of your podcasts. And my experience with those guys was working more overseas than the UK. I was based over in Spain, living in Marbella, which was amazing for 5 years, and kind of built up a real, substantial network across those 5 years that kind of spanned across the world. People from all over coming into Marbella. We delved into bits to do with Ibiza as well. So my network over that 5 year period really was quite a global one. And it kind of put, as you said, my sort of name on the map, as it were, in the events industry. So off the back of working with those guys, having a fantastic 5 years, I felt that I needed to come back to the UK and start getting my teeth sunk into stuff a bit more homegrown, which led into some great projects that I'm doing now. Obviously working with Lucy Beck over at Stardust. We both created that together last year. And that project has just absolutely been one of the best experiences of my life. To have something your own that you build from scratch in terms of, you're designing the logo, you're building the concept, you're building a team around you, and then you implement that into one of the best events of the year. It was an experience like no other. And yeah, I really always will remember that first year for sure.
Yeah, we spoke to Lucy a couple of weeks ago about Stardust. So what's next for Stardust?
Well, for us, we was full steam ahead this year for 2020, and of course COVID and the pandemic slowed everything down for us, and it's really left us in a position of uncertainty and what to do next. So we don't want to do anything half-heartedly. We want to make sure the experience is what it's built to be for, so immersive experience for the customers, and for us, we kind of will keep the brand alive this year. What that looks like just yet is what we're working on in terms of venue capacity, etc., etc. But for us, it's 2021 will be the next big year for Stardust, and we will have a bigger venue, a bigger experience, and a greater event for everyone.
Do you think it's fair to say that you're the most active man on Instagram there's ever been? You're
not the first person to say that, for sure. Yes, it's got its pros and cons. A lot of people look at that as me being busy on social media, but I'm very passionate about events. I'm very passionate about the brands that I work for and the brands that we create. And I think a lot of people recognise that, and they ask the same question for that reason. So for me, I love the industry. Probably this is me for life now in terms of career. I've jumped through a few different career paths across the years, but this is what I feel like I'm best at. And yeah, it's evident on social media. I'm very active. If you don't follow me, it's Dean Catney. And yeah, I just put 110% into everything that I do. So I'm a very passionate guy with regards to the brands that we build and that we promote.
What do you love the most about London hospitality?
For me, I would say watching it evolve over the years from more so being nighttime, which was our bread and butter back in the day,
Yeah.
but now it's definitely evolved into daytime. And you've got your brunches that have popped up over the years, and some really cool brands have developed into the brunch concept. And daytime venues that are opening, things like sort of Neverland in Fulham, where you've got sort of the beach vibe. That's going to continue building, I feel, over the next few years in and around the capital. And for me, obviously, I work alongside a brand called Hotbed, so we specialise in daytime parties across the UK and Ibiza and Marbella and beyond. So I feel like daytime partying will be the future, and for the near future, socially distanced, which is working quite well. We've done a few events already since we've been allowed to, and it's been great.
Dean, what's your biggest motivator in life? Because you seem to have so much energy, you're so positive all the time. Why do you get up every day and do what you do?
I think for me, it's just the experience that you get as an event organiser of putting on something that people talk about, and the sort of reputation that kind of not gives the event and the brand, but the organisers behind that as well. For me, that's probably my biggest drive. It's never been about money. It's never been about ego or anything. It's about people's experience and them really enjoying and talking about that event or that brand or that experience. So for me, the talk of the town, as it were, is the thing that drives me in the industry.
I've asked you what's your favourite thing about London hospitality. What's your least favourite?
I would say probably
I asked that question, sorry to cut in, I asked that question because you was a general manager at a couple of venues as well, and you saw the good and the ugly.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in every aspect of nightlife, where it's operations, promotions, event organisers, so on and so forth. So I've seen all different areas, but for me, I think the nightlife industry and the nightclubs in particular, seeing the decline of those the past year or two, and it's not going to get any easier in the near future. So I think that for me has been probably the biggest hardship, is watching the decline of nightlife in general. It's been great, obviously, for other aspects of seeing the daytime boom, but to see the nightlife industry that we first kind of got into this industry for, seeing that decline has probably been one of the biggest hardships. So it'd be good to see in the years to come that turnaround. Whether it will or not, time will tell.
Do you think you might buy your own venue very soon?
I wouldn't say very soon. It's definitely a dream, if that's what you're asking. Within the next 5 years, it would be a nice dream to have my own establishment. What that looks like, whether that's a club, a cocktail bar, a restaurant, a combination of all three, I'm not too sure. A comedy club. It's something that I'd love to do, and with people that've got around me in business in a minute, it's definitely something that's achievable for sure.
Well, one thing's for sure, it will certainly be Instagrammable, won't it?
It has to be. It has to be. If my name's to it, it's got to be Instagrammable. Yep.
Dean, thank you so much for coming on PCTV.
Thank you
It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and best of luck.
Thanks.
Cheers, mate.